I'm Robert Wald. I'm the Director of AI Innovation here at Gold Leader. And I put on these talks generally about once a month, like I said, alternating between the video and the AI tech. And we have been very involved with Seedance and all the video software. It's very difficult to keep up with everything in AI, even just in the video world now, let alone everything that's going on there. It is becoming more and more impossible. So that's my tilting at Windows quest to try and keep up with everything. So just about a year ago, VO 3.1 came out, and that was revolutionary at the time because it was really the first, and we talked about this a year ago, because it was really the first one that crossed the uncanny valley and could produce stuff that didn't look like it was AI. Everything before that, you could really tell VO is not perfect. There's plenty of improvements that can and have been made, but it was the first one where I could produce realistic content, which is my main focus, realistic content. We do animation and other things as well, but our aim is to make movies generally in a hybrid fashion using actors and backgrounds, so everything has to look very real. So VO took us a fair way there, and Seedance takes us significantly further, which I'll show you some examples of doing realism with Seedance, as well as animation and all sorts of interesting tricks that Seedance can do. And one of the main things about Seedance, so again, I'm going to keep this not too technical, because I know a lot of you are just dipping your feet in and want to learn about that. So we'll keep it pretty practical, I think, but happy to answer questions now or offline afterwards. There is a Discord. If you guys remind me, you can join it or talk to me on X or what have you. Like I said, we do this about once a month. So Seedance itself, more than anything that came before it, is a fully multimodal model. That is, other things would take images and they would take your text prompts, but Seedance can take and integrate text, images, and also video and audio in really interesting ways that gives it a lot more power than what we've seen before. So it's also why a lot of things have come out, and if you've seen let me find that here. So there's been a tremendous uptick in the amount of videos that people are putting out simply because it's much easier to put out something like this. And this isn't even realism here. But just a tremendous explosion of people who are able to put out pieces, including longer pieces, which we'll talk about, but much quicker and more effectively than they were able to do before. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it costs less, because it also costs more to run Seedance. And we'll talk a little bit about the pricing here. But it's now significantly easier to put out, get your ideas into film and video at a high resolution with pretty reactive characters. So this is obviously stylized, and it's always easier to do stylized pieces than regular pieces. Realism is difficult, less so with Seedance. So we have 1 million of these things that have come out now, a real uptick in the number of AI pieces that have come out, and of course an uptick in the amount of AI slop that comes out. And it used to be a lot easier to tell what slop was. We talked about slop back in January. What is actually slop and what qualifies as slop? Really, for me, the quality of something is less in imperfections in the video than the storytelling that's behind it. The ideas that it's trying to get across. I don't care if it's a good story. I don't care if someone has 6 fingers. That's easy. That's no longer a problem with generated video these days, but that's not my primary concern. I'm looking for ideas and such. There's a lot of little clever things, the Stormtrooper videos, the Bigfoot videos that are easy produced, little jokes, little curiosities. Some of them are quite good. Some of them qualify as slop, some of them don't. Don't care too much about those things. It's the longer form that I'm really interested in, or just conceptual things of getting stuff across. Seedance makes all that a lot easier. So I'll just find a couple of good examples here. So here's another one. This one was done with Higgsfield. These are all pretty recent, and one of the big problems with video, other than 6 fingers and imperfections, has been, over the past couple of years, just making things consistent. And there's a lot of tools that Seedance gives you, because it takes so much multimodal input, that lets Seedance be a lot better in producing consistent videos. So that's another sign of, if you want to tell a story, you want your characters to be consistent, otherwise it throws people off. Even if you have a good story, you want consistent characterization. Seedance makes that easier, and we'll talk about that a little bit. So you're seeing a lot more longer form video because longer form demands consistency, and that is now a lot easier to implement with Seedance. more so than VO, which in fact, VO 3 was very difficult because that couldn't even do image to video. It did introduce that later. But this is all taken as first class in Seedance.
You tell him his prices are a disgrace. A disgrace!
Father, it's me, your son, Kale.
Now, hopefully, what I'll show you today, you can jump in and make things of this quality level. It's just a matter of really getting your storytelling abilities together to really conceive of how to do that. I'm planning on doing a full production talk next time. We're just going to talk about Seedance this time. There's a lot of principles of how to put this thing together. They're not very difficult, and Seedance does make it easier. One of the major improvements of Seedance, especially over VO, VO can only produce 8 seconds of video at a time. Seedance can do 15. It doesn't sound like much, but it is actually quite a lot when you're trying to put these things together. 15 is really enough to think through at least a significant portion of the scene, whereas 8 is always too little. Higgsfield, by the way, is one of the main consolidators, I call them. That is, Higgsfield has Seedance, VO, pretty much Kling, pretty much every model there. They really are the kitchen sink for putting stuff together. A lot of people don't like them because they are the kitchen sink, but they do provide a lot of good quality abilities and features in their software across different providers. You can subscribe to Kling directly, and it may be a little bit cheaper, but with Higgsfield you get a whole studio to put stuff together. And similar ones are Magnific, OpenArt, which I said you use. And there's a whole bunch of them, and they're all competing for giving additional features to help you make movies. Because once you get to a certain level, you need to be able to organize this stuff. You need reuse. You start having to track your assets. A lot of bookkeeping comes along with trying to make anything larger. There's a lot of consolidators like Higgsfield. Higgsfield is one of the cheapest ones out there if you're using Seedance. Prices on Seedance vary quite a bit. So none of this is particularly difficult. It's a matter of imagination and just learning some of the tools. But it's not like the 3D world, right? It's not like where you have to, welcome, have a seat. It's not like the old 3D world where this would take weeks to put this together and draw these characters together. Yeah, that is one thing about Seedance. Seedance is a Chinese model. And it is not open source, which means that it only runs on Chinese servers, even if the company you're dealing with, Higgsfield or Magnific, is in the U.S.
Can I correct a little bit? Seedance is a world model. Actually, it runs servers in Singapore, also in North America.
Okay.
It's part of the ownership as a U.S. company, like Oracle, and so that's why I just want to correct a little bit.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. I did know they were in Singapore. I didn't know they were running servers in the U.S. So that's probably to their advantage. It is important because just today I'm dealing with a client, actually Sony, who absolutely will not have anything to do with any representations of their actors or their movies go outside of the US. Some companies are like that. Some companies don't care. AI is already heavily used in marketing companies and sales companies, and in social media. Generally, people don't care who's generating the video. No one's suing on social media and small scale things. But for real movies, IP is a big issue. And it's not just where the servers are located, although that is certainly part of it. It's the fact that Seedance was almost certainly trained on IP that they did not own. When you deal with VO, VO has legal access to all of YouTube because they own it. Of course, half of YouTube is plagiarized, so that is also a little questionable. But at least they actually have the legal license for everything that they published on YouTube. Whereas OpenAI did train from YouTube. Their CEO basically admitted that, but they had no rights. And Seedance IP laws in China are not strong. There are some providers that, Moon Valley, yes. They only use strictly public content that they have the full rights to, and their rendering sucks. You can't use it. It's not good for anything. LTX I believe does the same thing. They're actually significantly better. They don't suck, but they're not at the level of Seedance. These things will all shake themselves out. I don't see how this can be stopped. We can say you can't ever use a Chinese model legally, but that doesn't seem to be in the cards at the moment. So we'll see how that develops. Tap Now, by the way, is another agent like Okta, and there's a lot of people developing these agents, including myself and Ed back there, who are developing systems on top of Seedance to leverage its power. Let's get back to this one. So why does Seedance 2.0 win? Well, it comes out better than VO or Kling. Kling still does have its uses, as does VO. 3.1 is now being left behind. It's a year old now, and OmniFlash is only for editing, really, and it's still only 8 seconds. I can't believe they didn't fix that with the last release. Multimodal, it's the only one that is fully multimodal. There is another one called Happy Horse that's just come out. I haven't looked at it yet. It's getting good reviews, but they all get good reviews before they're released. They all get good reviews for the first couple of weeks until people see how they really work. They're going by the release notes. Yeah, we'll talk about multi-shots. Fax level expressions, nobody's covering this. I think I'm one of the first to cover it. This lets you get tremendous expressions from Seedance generations, and we'll talk about some troubleshooting as well. So from a high level, Seedance brings you closer to being able to direct a shot, both because it is much more prompt adherent and understanding of director level terms than what has come before, and also because it is multimodal, so you can actually capture the action from a video and apply it to the video that you are creating. That gives it a lot of power. So between the two of those things, you can think of this more at the director level, which again is why we have a lot of these things coming out, because you can more easily direct what's happening with the prompt and with your multimodal video, what you're actually going to output. It becomes much easier to realize your dream or your story, and at a higher director level than you could do before. I'm not saying it's fully director level, but it's on the path. And that skill will be more and more prevalent in the future as these models build up. We're always in a game of leapfrog as far as what's going to come out next. Happy Horse last week, VO4 eventually, Kling 4 eventually, and these will all be going towards the same goals, hopefully with more innovations as well. But multimodal and high prompt adherence and understanding of cameras and lenses and lighting, those are all things that are entering into the model, and Seedance is I don't like to say revolution, but it's certainly more than an incremental upgrade for that sort of thing. Seedance itself, basically, it'll produce content at 480p, 720p, or 1080p. 1080p gets quite expensive, between 4 and 15 seconds. It can take 9 images, 3 video sources, and 3 audio sources. Actually, only 12 of those at a time for some reason. Also, if you see anything saying that it does 15 seconds per video, it only does 15 seconds cumulative across all of video and all of the audio. So a lot of the promotional material implies that it could take 45 seconds total video. It's only 15. So if you use one for style and one for direction and one for movement, you only get 5 seconds of it from each video. But you can get 5 seconds from each video, which is cool. And audio as well. You can bring in your own audio and sync to the beat of the audio. You get a lot of control because it's multimodal in that way. 24 or 30 frames per second. Generally, I use 24, and stereo outputs in 8+ languages.
Explaining why 24 versus 30?
Well, 24 is the traditional film frame rate, and 30 to 29.97 or 30 is the traditional TV frame rate. So it'll match the two most common ones. Kling can do 60 frames. Kling actually is the only one with 4K output, which we expect everything else has to be upscaled to 4K. And 4K is more or less the standard for what professional production wants. There's nothing wrong with upscaling, but upscaling can introduce artifacts and imperfections, and you want more detail in your picture. And if you upscale, a lot of it is made up. Topaz and others are excellent upscalers, but having it natively in Kling, putting my screen, having it natively in Kling is a good thing. 1080p is good enough for a lot of work, though, most work, and the upscaling does work pretty well, but that is an advantage to Kling that it has at the moment. So if you followed Seedance at all, it was a very messy launch, because in February, when it first came out, and it came out internationally and in China, people dove in there and produced all sorts of neat things, utterly violating IP. and scared the hell out of the studios, even more than Sora ever did, because apologies to the Sora guy, but Sora sucked. And that's why it's gone. Sora censored everything I ever threw at it, and I just got sick of it. So it came out and it was immediately blocked. So they had to put a lot of restrictions on what it could actually produce. So now it has IP guards. It won't let you. It has a large-scale detection if you try and take a celebrity or someone who's well-known. It will not let you upload that. It's relaxed a little bit on uploading faces, and if you deal with Seedance themselves and some of their consolidators, you have rights to a face. We're working with an actor who is well known, and it will block him, but we have an agreement with him, so we can actually use it. So we have to go through some legal steps and then we can use Seedance to actually put him into videos, which is also neat. So between February and when it actually released in April or so, April 15th was the global rollout, they restricted it quite a bit and added more censoring than the original wonderful Chinese version had. And that would have been a lot of fun to play with, but supposedly it's globally restricted now, but I've heard that it's not always globally restricted. But I don't know how to get around it. I see people who claim you can get around it, but I don't trust the ads. So now it's out fully, and you can get it through consolidators and a bunch of API interfaces, and as well as Seedance is distributed in the US itself, I forget the name, and other methods. And everyone who isn't afraid of AI is going for Seedance because it is just that powerful. Yeah, so this is actually a couple weeks old now. Happy Horse is getting good reviews. I haven't reviewed it yet, but at the time, it's really producing the best text to video and image to video, as well as ingredients to video. Again, I don't necessarily trust the Happy Horse reviews until I look at it myself. Multimodal means that it has 4 different control channels and they are all integrated. They're not done as separate steps. It's all mixed together when the model is working. So of course you have the script, your traditional text to video script. That drives everything generally. Sometimes you don't need it if you just have an image. It'll figure out what to do without a lot of prompting. It might not do what you want, but it'll figure something out. So you have your script. Keep pointing at my screen. You have your script. You have your images, which can be characters, as long as they're not celebrities, wardrobe, objects, backgrounds. 9 is a lot of power. Veo only has 4. Pika had 3. I think Kling has 4 as well. Some of the image models like Nano Banana, I believe, have more than that. But it really having 9 significantly increases the amount of power and control that you have directly over the video, because it will respect the images that you bring in, and it knows how to properly arrange it according to when you tell it how to use it in the prompt, which we'll cover. Same with the video. You can control the motion, you can control the camera, you could say copy the VFX from this video that I'm showing you, as well as match a rhythm beat. And audio, same. You can bring in a score, you can bring in dialogue, and match the beat there as well. Lip sync, special effects, Foley special effects. So all of that is input to the model, and it's really the first major one that has all that working for it. That gives it a lot of power. So it actually partially disrupts the traditional professional workflow for dealing with AI video, which is you would generally start with an image generator like Nano Banana, or now there's GPT Image 2, which will let you assemble your image in great detail, and then you take the image and bring it to the video generator, because you can't get the same power to create the image as the video generator. And Nano Banana in particular, now GPT Image 2, were very good at crafting these frames together that you could animate with the AI video. Now with the additional control, you can potentially skip that step. I'm not saying that you're going to do that professionally, but that capability is there. You still get more control out of Nano Banana and that sort of thing. I keep saying Nano Banana, but GPT Image 2 has overtaken it for most categories. Veo is still expensive, surprisingly, and they're actually getting a little cheap because they stopped their unlimited generations and such on Flow. But Seedance is quite expensive, especially when you go to 1080p. Like I said, multimodal lets you express a lot of what a director will want to express. We can, and Some of these things were added to Kling later on. They've added some of these. Originally, VO was not very good at manipulating its ingredients and references. With Seedance, it's pretty reliable, and it fully supports the at notation, which used to be an afterthought for the others. I'm not saying it didn't work and doesn't eventually work, but here it's a first-class citizen. It understands, I'm talking about this image, I'm talking about this video, this audio, and I can refer to them all with the at notation in the prompt. A lot of them do it these days, but this has more and is more reliable. And all that gives more of a director's overview there. Basic features, and there are a lot of them. This isn't all of them. Native synced video, native synced audio, all together. So when you're doing lip sync, and this is a problem with Kling, Kling does not have particularly good lip sync in my opinion. VO does have good lip sync. They did include that in VO, and that is definitely one of its strengths. Seedance has excellent lip sync because I always suspected that Kling is doing it in a later pass, but VO and Seedance are doing it together, and that's what you have to do to really get the lip sync correct. At reference syntax, as I mentioned, timeline prompting, which we'll talk about. VO, if you guys played with VO, you remember that VO was very interesting because it was very deep. There was a lot of features to VO that were not initially apparent. Two of them that were really cool were that you could annotate an image and draw lines and say, this is going to move over here. Gave you a lot of control over the image. And also it had JSON prompting, which lets you express your prompt in a more structured computer-like language, and it would respect that, and that's how you get multi-shot videos from VO, and you had a lot of cool examples of multi-shot videos, unboxing, things that would explode into parts that you could get with video, but it was never doing multi-shot accurately. It never 100% respected what was in the JSON, especially if it got past a certain degree of complexity. It worked really well, and JSON prompting was generally the way to go with VO, but this actually has a syntax for doing timeline prompting, and it is fairly strict in respecting that, and that's important. All of these things, if the prompt is too long or complex, will lose understanding. But as long as you stay within the limits, which for Seedance is somewhere around 250 tokens, 250 words or so, if you're under that for a multi-shot, it will generally respect it. And for a single shot, it's more like 100, 150. If you go beyond that, then it'll start to lose track, like any LLM will. It supports first and last frame, of course, which is the traditional work, to do that in GPT Image 2. Give it your first frame, your last frame, so you know exactly what you want and describe the difference between them. And it will do that pretty well. As long as it's very good at physics. So as long as it can understand how to get from one frame to another with the help of the prompt, it'll do a reasonably good job of doing that. VO does that as well, but Seedance is better. Yeah, director level camera, we'll talk about the types of cameras and lenses and lighting that it understands. Very good at physics, that's necessary. Sora was awful at physics. Sora 1 was awful at physics, and Sora 2 just censored me, and I said, I wasn't gonna play with it. Their Kling and Runway Runway Alpha have interesting editing functionality, and there's a lot of different versions of this out there. Those are the two of the major ones, where you can say something like, in this video, remove this person. Stalin would have loved this. Remove this person from this video, insert this person into this video. Basically, different types of pipeline editing. Seedance has that built in as part of as one of its endpoints, which you can just use. And we'll look at one of those and this is really powerful, which I'll show you, because you can take a video, let's say you have a 15-second video, but like I said, long form is where you really want to be. 15 seconds is much better than 8 seconds, but it's still only 15 seconds. This can actually, using its video multimodal input, take your 15-second video and you can say, extend this another 15 seconds, and this is what I want to happen then. And it will draw everything from the first video and continue the video. Now, VO did a little bit of that. Kling does a little bit of that. They all support what's called take the last frame of this video and keep going, but they don't do it well because it's not multimodal, it's just looking at the image. This looks at the actual video, so you get momentum. If something's moving and someone has characteristics, it will see that in the first video, and you say extend as part of this editing function, it will do it properly, which with VO, if you just go from the last frame, and Flow tried to do this a little bit, but never did it well. If you say go from the last frame, it only knows the frame. It doesn't understand anything that happened in the hundreds of frames before that in the 8-second video that preceded it. This does actually understand the video.
I just missed what you said, so I want to do 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So I do 15 seconds, but things are moving, and I want the one acceleration to look, no jumps.
Yeah.
So I then do the second one and give it the first one as a prompt.
Not as a prompt, you just load the video in. 15 seconds, yeah.
Okay.
Or less.
But that, then I can't put any other motion in. It's 15 seconds.
No, you give it a prompt. You can add things.
I've used up all the 15 seconds of input.
No, but that's the input. You still have 15 seconds of output. So you input the last 15
Yeah, I
seconds
understand,
and you
but
get the
I
next
think
15
What he's
seconds.
saying is that he wants to make a 30-second video,
Yeah.
but he doesn't know about taking the last frame to use that as a starter frame.
No, I do know about
Or is
that.
that
Yeah, but what I also have something that I did in Unity, which is the motion I want to track. It's 30 seconds long, or 60 seconds.
You can only input 15 seconds at a time. Okay, that's so much better than it was. I can't give you everything.
I can break it into little pieces. Okay, fine. That's good.
Sure.
So the 15 seconds is like input, and then it will output 15 seconds, and then you have to recombine those two in order to have 30.
You'll join them together in an editor. Yeah, that's what you'll do
There
there.
won't be any jump.
It does it pretty well. And I've extended video, and no, unlike many of the other ones, I generally don't get a jump.
An issue I've run into with making videos, I haven't experimented with this with Seedance yet, is like lip syncing. Let's just say I upload a audio file that I want lip sync to a character. It works best with that kind of front facing avatar like shot.
Yeah.
Is it easy, let's just say I have a character doing it, let's just say he's swinging a sword and fighting multiple people, will it be easy to designate a lip sync audio just to that other character without the other characters making weird movements with their mouth, or like how's the?
It's very good at 2 characters. It can get confused with 3 characters. So let me just say that. But it's better than what came before. So you don't get a lot of that crossover talk that you have gotten previously. It's not perfect, but like I said, 2. It's pretty good at 2. It may start to fade at 3, but not necessarily. Throw me the question on Discord and I'll look into it.
Would you be able to explain the difference between first frame, last frame, and Omni?
Omni is a trademark, or just so first frame, last frame is just the traditional way of extending a video, because you can take the last, if you support image input, you can start from the last frame and generate video off of that. Again, it won't have momentum, and that's where you get your jump. I'm going like this, but it doesn't know that I was going like this, that I was going in that direction, so maybe it slows down or something like that. Sometimes you can correct in the prompt. Omni generally refers to the whole way that you would do editing. Usually the Omni models are what lets you do, the ones that support the editing, and that's where you would be able to talk about what's actually in the frame. So Kling has a particular Omni model that supports these same capabilities. I think Seedance is better, but that's what they call their Omni model. The new one, Omni Spark, the new VO version, Omni Spark.
You know what, that one I don't know.
Okay, that just came out like 2.
Because I'm so disappointed with Google lately, but yeah.
Who was it? And I should say that back in October, Gemini 3.1 was the cat's meow, but it has degraded so much. I don't want to talk to it anymore. It's so stupid. These things happen. The enshittification is what they call it. But their new nano, I think it's OmniSpark. It's one of those conglomerations of words. That is also an Omni model because it does the editing and can figure out things that are going within the video. So there's no strict technical definition of it, but that's generally the feature set that's associated with it. And 12 files per shot. Like there's 9, 3 plus 3 equals 12. Yeah, and people love it. The basic modes, which I've referred to, are text to video. All you need is text. Does a lot. Image to video, which includes image to video and also first frame, last frame, which is the same thing really, just you have 2 of them. Reference to video is the really cool stuff because that's where you bring in your 12 inputs and can do pretty much anything there. And you can also say that this is one picture is going to be the background, which means that it's going to assemble the frame, unlike first to last frame where you give it the frame, but it'll understand when you say this is the scene, this is the background. You can put your background, your people, and your objects all together and make it work. So reference to video is the real power in Seedance, so it does everything pretty well. Video editing like we just talked about, video extension like we just talked about, and we'll have examples for that. The general formula, which is not strict, but generally when you're approaching, this is how you should think about it if you're first looking at it. There are exceptions, you should know that. Subject, action, environment, camera, lighting, style, audio, and then any constraints. Don't have 6 fingers, things like that. You'll know what constraints you want for a particular scene. You may want to say, don't change the face, don't do this, don't do this. It will respect that to various degrees. The more complex it is, the less likely you are to actually get everything perfect, but it goes a lot further than prior models. This is not strict, so if your most important thing is the lighting or matching that, you might want to move that to the front. You can have more than one verb per shot, but it's best if you do have one verb per shot. Again, 60 to 100 words for single shot, and this is more like 250, 260 is the real number for multi-shot, and then it starts to break down. One camera move, yeah, that's the easiest one, but you can actually have camera moves tacked onto each other, and complex ones, as long as you don't contradict yourself. And you can front load what matters, which is what I just explained. Let's go to an example. Here's 3 different ways of expressing a scene. And this, if you're working with Seedance, you should develop this skill. We can do a woman walking through a city. We can give a lot better definition of exactly what I want to see in this, and it will very much respect that. And for production quality, you really want to define everything, and you can also tell exactly what you're trying to do there. Again, it's very good at prompt adherence. So we have where am I? Okay, now I got to find it. Oh, no, this is a runway. I want Higgsfield. Runway, by the way, was one of the most effective way to use Seedance because for $89 or $99, they gave an unlimited plan. And it was a relaxed plan, so it ran at a lower priority. Seedance generally takes a long time to render, and lower priority is going to take even longer, but it was unlimited, right? You were paying one price, get as much as you want. That is ending any day now. They just announced that. That is unfortunate because no one else is really providing unlimited except for people who are trying to trick you into subscribing. Seedance is too expensive because I'm talking directly to Seedance, so I know what they're charging their distributors. You can't give it away unlimited for very long. And I guess that's what they found. At the moment, I'm preferring Higgsfield. OpenArt, I don't know what their current pricing is. They have an interesting studio environment that I've used for some of its functions, but they're much more expensive last time I checked. Magnific, they were free pick, now they're Magnific. Their pricing also seems very high. We do use Magnific as well. We may be entering an agreement with them actually, but last time I checked, and this changes, their pricing was very high compared to Higgsfield. Runway is actually high compared to Higgsfield when you don't use their unlimited plan. There are other ones. So for some reason, it rejected that the first time I tried it, which is why it's probably all the way up here. Why does it think that this simple thing is copyrighted? So I thought I redid this, but I guess it's not. For some reason, it rejected a woman walking through a city cinematic. So we'll go to the next one. A woman in a trench coat walks through the city. And then the fully developed version, which is very specified. I believe it made up the audio for the prior one, which you can tell no audio as a constraint. So we could take that And that'll take a little bit too long, but let's see. So if I were to download that and feed it back in, I could extend that another 15 seconds. It would do fairly well. In fact, let me kick that off. Now, it's going to take a little while to actually check that video to make sure that there's no celebrities in it. Were you raising your hand?
I think I saw a little, in other words, it looked like it was 30 frames per second, except it was like a little jump.
It should have been 24 and
24. It looked like 24, but it looked like it was missing a frame and stuttered slightly.
it's possible it's just the TV, but you could be right. Nothing's perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, quick question. I wonder,
Yeah.
are those two video the same length? 15?
Yeah.
Both of them, right?
Yeah, you can choose between 4 and 15.
Got it. So the actual question is, I wonder, is the token consumption for these two videos are the same?
So, the tokens that I fed in this case were just the text because I didn't give it any extra images or videos or such. So one of these is slightly longer than the other as far as tokens goes. Higgsfield does not charge per token. Higgsfield charges by length. The actual servers for Seedance do charge per token. Their cost is per token. So on the back end, and I don't know what everyone's deal with Seedance is, but the back end servers are actually counting tokens. So if I deal directly with Seedance, they're charging me per token. But in this case, it's just one's a slightly longer prompt than the other. But if I were to start uploading video and I were being charged per token, that would cost a lot more, of course, because I'd have to upload that. But this is just text. So it approved that. That should have been okay. It's only a 15-second video. It won't take more than 15 seconds, of course.
Rendering at 1080p or is it?
I hope I'm not, because that's very expensive for it. I think I started with 1080 when I put the examples together, but I meant to do 720. 720 is a lot less. So now I'm back in there. Let me get rid of this other stuff. 720. And we'll come back to that because that's going to take a while to actually generate. But you see how much less it costs.
Yes, and for me, 15 second at 720p is 255 credits. So yours is 68.
Credits are not
a better deal.
Credits are not interchangeable. Free pick credits are highly inflated, so that might have been 1,000, but you can't compare them directly. I do think Dreamina is more, but I don't know by how much. You have to convert by, and plus there's specials. Higgsfield's giving 35% off right now, so you can't do directly, but I have heard that Dreamina is a little more expensive. They also have Lumina as their new direct platform. Yeah, so you see you get a lot more specification, and because Seedance is good at prompt adherence, it'll understand all that and respect it, which if you go back in time, it would not. Yeah, I don't know if we got the distant traffic and light rain. Did anyone hear that?
I saw a little rain in one of the frames, but then I didn't see, it wasn't consistent. I saw a couple of drops, but her jacket wasn't wet. Didn't see the drops on the jacket or anything, but I did see a couple of drops in one of the shots you did.
Yeah, it does say just on metal awning. There's still a few bugs in the system. You're going to have to play with this to get the effect you want, but I'm sure you can't get the rain on the person.
Yeah.
And this one, yeah, it made up the audio because there's no audio specification here. That's why I added the music.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
I thought the more detailed one came out just more realistic in every sense.
Yeah.
Do you think it does that if you give it a professional sounding prompt?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because otherwise, you're not fully specifying it, so when it's mapping what you say to the space of its understanding, you can wind up anywhere in the space. But if you give it more specification, you wind up to a smaller bit of the space, which will be more aligned with what you want and higher quality.
Do you attach the official prompt guide to help improve the prompt better?
So I'm not going to go to that level, but there are various methods, including agentic methods, so personally, yes, I have loaded.
Legit, and follow the prompt guide on this page, the official.
But you don't tell it. I don't tell Seedance directly to do that. If I'm using an LLM to create my prompts, which I might load the prompt guide. I might load into Notebook LM 200 sources for Seedance prompting, and then have a PT or a gem or whatever, which will give me an improved prompt based upon the prompt guide. So I do that at the LLM level, basically, not Seedance itself, because I'm not sure if it will respond to that, but I don't think it does. Yeah, that's generally done on the LLM, or the agent may do that for you. There's lots of GPTs available for various systems, including Seedance, which do that for you. So there's definitely Seedance prompt guides and VO prompt guides and Kling prompt guides that will craft your prompt to the particular system that you're using. All right, we're gonna have to pick up the pace a little bit. Better to use positive prompting than negative. It's easier for it to understand. Some systems have specific inputs for negative prompt. That is, in the API, they have a place where you put negative prompting. Here, it's all in the prompt. There's no other input there like you do have in some systems, and it is easier to understand positive than negative. If you have too many negatives, it's just going to start to ignore them. Yeah, so just generally when you're starting out, you have to pick your mode, of course. Stick with the chain until you learn how to grow out of it. One verb, one camera move. Again, you can do more compounds as long as you don't have too many, or they're telling you to do different things. It'll probably understand it. And if something has to be in there, you may want to move it to the front. Like I said, positives over negatives. So going on to what it understands about cameras. It understands a lot about cameras. It understands a lot about camera shots. It understands a lot about camera movements. It doesn't want combos that don't make sense or that are contradictory in what it's trying to do. You can't dolly and pan and tilt. You can't do a wide shot with tiny labeled text, things like that. Some of them are obvious and some of them are not. But generally speaking, it knows what a close-up is, including the abbreviation for it. It knows what first-person point of view or over-the-shoulder shot is. It'll understand all these things in the prompt. So yeah, you can have various ways of explaining a tracking shot, an orbit reveal. So you can combine these into director-level shots, which is what you want from a strong system. Same thing for lighting. Traditionally, in older systems, you would add these terms. I want it moody, I want it cinematic or atmospheric. In the end, these aren't very meaningful. Maybe it's better than nothing, and maybe on some particular systems, they trigger something in the space where it's actually figuring it out to something, I want an ugly shot, I don't know. So, but these are inexact terms. They map, in the end, they map to too much of the space to really specify what you're trying to do. You're going to have more retries to get where you want. But physically now, it understands what a key light is, and mood is generally driven by lighting. It understands all sorts of lights, all sorts of particular bulbs, and different ways of expressing it. These things can all be included in your prompt, as well as taken from a video or an image that's expressing this already. So you can do it in the prompt or by inspiration or by reference, and it will understand the lighting. So you can have things like this: 3-point lighting, golden hour exterior. And a lot of times you would just say golden hour, but this is specific for it to understand this sort of thing. Again, you could overwhelm it, but it'll understand most of these things. And of course, the subject can move and the camera can move, and you don't want to have them contradict each other, but you can do these things. Keep in mind, the dancer is turning slowly, the camera is locked. The runner is sprinting, but we're going to track him. So these are all things that Seedance understands how to implement. Again, nothing's perfect, but it does have the understanding. First and last frame, like I said, this is the more traditional in the sense that it's been a year or two way of doing a reliable production level shoot, because just feeding terms to a video generator before Seedance and VO would not come in. We'd have to retry a whole bunch of times and it would draw the scene however it liked. You just didn't have enough inputs to properly control it. But you do when you start from just a image, and the image editors like Nano and GPT Image or Strong and take a lot of references, and you can say, here you can design a frame that say move this to this, move this to this, and then you have your last frame and can interpolate between them. Still probably the most professional way to do it, just because it's a known and reliable way and you get specific design within your Banana and GPT Image. And any transitions have to be physically plausible. but Seedance will do it, and will get from the first frame to the last frame. Like I said, you can have some of that within the references, not first frame to last frame, but you can say, I want to start with this reference and end with this reference with a whole bunch of other references, and it will probably do something similar. Yeah, so references is another use of the word omni, but that's the most powerful one if you're doing it all in Seedance. There are rules for how it's going to resolve things when you contradict yourself. The frame wins over references. If you don't use untagged identities or you refer to something without the @ sign, it's going to average it out and won't get it right. You need to disambiguate inside the prose. That should be obvious, but the prose is where you can tell how you're handling each of your references. And style drifts, that's a matter of your prose, and if the references contradict each other, it's going to get confused. So you don't want to confuse it. Sometimes you want something complex, so you might want to describe that as a timed shot, but you don't want to confuse it because it's not going to know. At reference, like I said, that's a first order citizen in Seedance, so you can refer to each of these images. You might have a main character, secondary characters, wardrobe. So you want someone to be consistently dressed from shot to shot, right? So you include the wardrobe in there. You say that's on image one is wearing, image 2 as clothing. It will understand that and find that consistency there. Including location, objects, different ways of composing the shot. 9 gives you a lot of power there. 3 videos, choreography, camera path effects, style, things like that. And audio, you can bring in music or language or dialogue and lip sync to that. So again, the @ references are the way to do that, and they're stronger in this one than they have been in the past. I have this, I believe, cinematic close-up. So this is fairly simple. We've got a lens. We're starting with the lens here because that's the most important thing. Side backlight, medium close-up of a 30-year-old woman in a quiet kitchen. She reads a letter. She's going to give a single tear. Locked camera, eye level, distant clock, audio, paper rustle, no music. And constraints, we want a stable face, no deformation, which is rare, but you may still want to throw that in if that's what you're seeing. Hands not visible. And we want it 8 seconds long. You actually set the 8 seconds elsewhere. I think it may or may not respect that if it's in the prompt itself. So that is probably this one, right? So we've got distant audio there. And the tear. Now in a bit, I'm going to tell you how to get even more expression out of this sort of thing. This is your basic sort of prompt. We could go crazy as well, and we could add all sorts of things to it. We wouldn't want to overload it, but we've got plenty of room to do more if we wanted to. Locked faces will obviously be better than moving ones, but again, I'll show you how to do the emotional manipulation. Okay, that's the basics. And from that, you can just go and experiment if you have the credits. Just think about what you use that formula, think about what you want to start working with and go from there. Now let's talk about some of the more advanced tricks that you can get out of Seedance. So timeline prompting, like I said, with Via you had JSON, or you could try and describe it in prose. Kling does a little bit of multi-shot, but it's not very controllable. With Seedance, you have direct control over how long each of your shots within your 15-second shot can be. We can start with a morning harvest close-up, go over to a knife slicing vegetables, and then a dish on the wooden table. And that will all happen within the same shot. Because it's all within the same shot, you will have consistency and stylistic consistency, because that will be outside of the actual shots here. And we'll do an example of that as well. You have up to 15 seconds. Practically speaking, if you do more than 3 or 4, it may become a little bit of incoherent. But so if you want to, 3 seconds, something else happened. Maybe she walks this way, then she walks this way. We could have broken that walking video into 3 seconds, she's walking towards the store, down the street, and it would have tracked that pretty well. And then if you want more than that, you would have to join it in the editor to get more than 15 seconds. Sure.
What about using video as a reference to the video extension?
Actually, we talked about that before you came in, and we'll get back to that as well. So yes, you can not only do that, but you can have the prior however many seconds to inspire the next one. Or directly, even more than inspire. Say video might inspire, but this will actually continue. However, you can break this up into up to 15 shots if you want a quick staccato video there, just showing different things. So what is generally kept are character identities, the visual style, and the grades. You can't change that within the shot. Though certain things might not appear in one shot or another, you can't bring more in. You can just reference what you have. You're not going to be able to change the lens. You can change the camera, though. You can change the camera framing and what's actually happening and the movement. And you can move between environments. And you can even move the lighting a little bit in a transitional format. So there's a lot of things you can change within the shot itself. But your shot will also have general stylistic and inputs that will affect all of the shots. But because it wants to be consistent within shots. And consistency between different 15-second shots, your full generation, that is what you need to provide to make any sort of longer piece. But having it within the shot, the multi-shot itself, is also necessary to have consistency there as too. Audio dialogue, it's much better at what you mentioned when it would provide the audio for the wrong person. That can still happen, but only with a more complex prompt. It'll understand that, especially if you have a named character, you can assign that character dialogue, and you can do it between different shots. So you can combine this with multi-shot and have different people say it at different times. Again, not talking about the audio referencing, I'm just talking about dialogue there. You can sync to the audio. So if we have music and we want to do some sort of synchronize the cuts to the peaks, it can do that for you automatically, as well as special effects there. So you have a lot of potential for doing different types of audio within the prompt itself, as well as what you can add with the references. So here's an example. I don't think I worked this through, but here's a beat sync example where we have a 9-second product reveal. We would take as input the audio, 4 bars of the audio and the image, and then we can show how the product reveals. So we'd use this for any type of advertising video. Dark studio, audio starts up, then we bring in the hero shot from 3 seconds to 6 seconds, and then from 6 to 9, we reveal the logo, and the drop that's coming in the audio will sync to that. Sync cuts and motion to peaks in audio, so it will adjust in order to match the audio. That's pretty powerful. That saves an awful lot in post and sound design. You still need professionally sound design, but this does a lot. And I think this got cut off here. Special effects as well. So a hand pours whiskey into a crystal glass. We can get this glass pour, cube settle, and content within the prompt itself. For multi-shot, we have the same thing. We can bring in different audio across the different shots. So if we have multi-shot within the prompt, we can bring in different audio and effects at the declared times for the multi-shot. So for character consistency, for longer form video, character and object consistency and background consistency is key. One of the main things we do for character consistency, I hope I brought this to the right computer here. I know it's on the other one. I'm going to cheat. So To maintain the characters, of course, you can have an image of the character and feed it into every prompt. But it's usually more useful, and hopefully this is coming out with this, to have a single image that has the character from different angles and some close-ups on the face so that you can feed it multi-angles of the same character all at the same time. That way you can keep reusing that sheet and it'll get it from different angles. Now sometimes you may want the higher definition of having it all in one very well-defined picture, but character sheets are widely used for consistency. And if we have 3 characters in the scene, we'll feed it 3 character sheets and not have to have different angles for each of the character and different images because we'll run out. But in the character sheet, it'll be able to maintain consistency, and hopefully this will be done in a second, because I have all my character sheets somewhere else. Let's let that finish, get back to it. Yeah, so 3 or more reference angles, if you can do that in one image and define your character that way. That's key, as well as anything else that you want to be consistent. Don't switch your nouns. If you call someone the woman, don't switch to a she, because that's going to confuse it. If you have distinctive features, both in the image and in the prompt, make sure that you use that consistently. And sometimes you have to say maintain the exact appearance, things like that, just so it doesn't get confused. Sometimes you have to give it a little help so it doesn't get confused. Products are the same as characters. Maybe not as many angles necessary, and you're not drawing faces, but it's more or less the same. So this is a character sheet. And we're defining the character, what she's generally wearing, although we can override the wardrobe. But now, as the character moves, you see we can get her from different angles. And this is enough for Seedance to figure out the different ways it's going to want to portray the character, as well as the close-ups and the ornamentation and the watch and the face, as well as full body. Again, you can change the wardrobe and different expressions that they might have, and the general color palette. So this is a pretty good character sheet that it came up with that we can reuse as we do the character. Now, if she's in very different situations, I can use GPT to alter this and turn her into an Amazon or something if she's transported to Xena or something. But generally speaking, and this is actually more developed than some older character sheet styles, but Seedance will support this sort of thing.
A quick question
Yeah.
regarding that, what you mentioned before regarding celebrities. If I decide to do a character sheet like that, saying, hey, let's do a mix of this actor, and this actor, does
Yeah.
like a blend.
Yeah.
It would be, you can feel this, feels like a celebrity without really pointing your finger into it. Will it be blocked by Seedance because it's not a real celebrity, but
Sometimes it will,
Yeah.
sometimes it won't.
okay.
It
So
depends.
it's deterministic.
It will use its algorithm to say if it's really close enough to that character or not.
Thank you.
You can just put a photo there, like
I can take a photo and say make a character sheet from this photo. I could take a set of photos if I want more detail and say I want a full character sheet from this set of photos, and it will merge them all into this. I can blend characters. I have blended actors, actually, not for professional release, but I've done that, and it did get through for me, but I wasn't trying anything sneaky.
Because I'm just wondering, like for promotional videos, if you want to do something, I don't know, about your project, and then the character, you're not gonna put Meryl Streep there, but then
No.
if you want something like, that people will see and say, oh, it reminds me of, like, can you do something like this? So
You can try, and sometimes it'll get through, and sometimes it won't. The early release of Seedance would let anything through. Sora would let nothing through. VO will let some things through. Over time, these things always get more locked down. Even Kling originally did almost anything you wanted it to do. Now it's pretty locked down. Anything that gets big in the US gets locked down. So it gets much more sensitive to that sort of thing.
do you think the tendency of this is going to be really to get more and more restrict?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that this can be stopped per se without other major changes in society, but they can lock it down more in order to protect IP, and I think they definitely will. Some sort of grand bargain has to happen eventually, and that will include more restrictions on what you can do. Personally, I think that who's responsible for it legally is the person who's actually asking for it. So if I create Meryl Streep and I use that for a product, that's me violating copyright. I don't think it should be primarily on the part of the generator. The training data is a different matter, but it's easier to put it at that level because, as you can see, people will just, if they're allowed to, people will do anything with celebrities that they like.
No, we saw that already.
Yeah, we've seen plenty of that.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I was not following. Which model did you use to generate this character?
That was GPT image 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
That's exactly.
Yeah. Oh, there's someone else? No.
Just to confirm my understanding, so if you were generating a video on Seedance, you could upload that as the reference image for
Yeah.
the character, just the full-blown character sheet, not just one. Because that's pretty
Yeah.
mind-blowing. I've never considered that like a workflow.
Let's. Can we save that? We got to open that. Oh, let's see how that came out. That'll be all the way at the top. Ah. I don't know why it doesn't want to draw this woman.
No, it does that sometimes.
It works enough that I'm not so angry at it, and I'm sure I just have to change it, but I got really angry at Sora, let me tell you. But let's do this really quickly, though. I will upload the character sheet. It will see if it looks like a celebrity.
But with the direct API, you can take the content moderation filters off.
Ye-
This is what Higgs built, so it's going to have content moderation.
They all, I'm told they all do. That's what Seedance told me, that even if I deal directly with them, there's content moderation. There's more on the downstream people.
There's a KYC process.
Yeah, there's a KYC process, but you have to go through it. Yeah. And it actually costs $14,000 to get into the KYC process. But not if you use like our deal with Magnific, if we go there, it's included, but if I deal directly with Seedance, if I want to do that, they want $14K.
It's free if you generate up to 400,000 worth of content, then KYC and all of that stuff is free.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I've loaded in the character sheet. Let's see. Image 1, give me 1 second. Image 1 is taking the elevator up the Eiffel Tower. Did I spell that right? Let's get that. We'll see what it does with that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Back in the days when the SRI and everything went out, we had to try different like generation to have something decent. How many times do you try to generate like a short video with Seedance to have something that you're happy with? How many version of the prompt you will like generate like?
It depends.
Force in order to have something that you think is the right direction.
It depends on what your goal is. It's much more adherent, so you have to do less, but each one costs more. But yeah, and if you have really special needs and you have detailed needs, it still may take a whole bunch of times. Yeah, here it is. So this was a highly realistic one that we did. I want to make this full screen and I'm blocking myself.
This kind of thing ain't my thing.
It's life, not a thing.
Oh, excuse me, golden boy, with all your awards and money and shit.
What?
I'm just a dumb country redneck. Excuse me for breathing the same fucking air as you.
I've never said a goddamn word about how you live.
It's all right there in your eyes, big bro. Right there.
You are so paranoid.
Fuck off! What's the matter? Afraid of me now that I'm bigger than you?
I'm not gonna fight you. Stop it, Frank.
Don't tell me what to do! Why don't you grow up, Frank?
No.
Just in case you were wondering, I never told Mom you sold her watch. I thought you might have thought I did, so.
Thanks.
regret a lot of things I did back then. Yep, you did them.
So that was ultra realistic, and that took a lot of retries to get it to that point.
Those faces are real actors.
That you think so was what we were trying for.
Get Jason Bateman there and
Yeah.
It really kept, we weren't trying to do that.
Batman guy.
It kept trying to go towards Jason Bateman.
Yeah.
We had to cut a lot of the Jason Bateman.
Okay.
So even though we weren't trying, it kept trying to go there.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah, it's very close.
Yeah, this movie that's a scene from, we want to do purely in AI because it's going to be, they can't get it produced with real actors. It's at least $11 million to put that together with real actors. We will be able to do it for one. I don't know if we get it distributed. That's a whole different question, but we can create it. And there will be a lot of work in there to actually get it to that level of realism.
But was it a mix of real actors on purpose, or is it really the model that tried to mimic, just mentioned Jason Bateman? I think everybody saw the same thing.
No, we weren't trying for Jason Bateman.
Okay.
We designed the actor there, and it kept pulling it toward Jason
So
Bateman.
it's not, okay.
Yeah.
So for example, like when so Anita and I, we started the AI Play Lab a while back, and when we first started, this is 2 years ago, so it's like a complete different thing. We created our own blue monster. Every time we fed it into the system, we used Halo, Seedance didn't exist at the time. It turned it into Cookie Monster, like Cookie Monster from Sesame Street. And we couldn't do anything with it because when you're working professionally, it's absolutely impossible to use IP. Because you're not a content creator, you're actually doing this for major studios and stuff. So this is incredible what you were able to do. I didn't see Jason Bateman, I'm just saying, so.
A mix of Jason Bateman and Paul, I was just like looking at Paul Rudd from the Ant-Man movie from Marvel. Really good mix of the two. I think it's like the model just trying to find something that is closer to what they probably know already.
Now the producer did.
On somehow.
Yeah, something like that. The producer did give us some actor names, and we did design stuff, but none of them were Jason Bateman or Rudd or Paul.
Jason Bateman, to be quite honest, I didn't know,
Okay.
but.
Yeah, but yeah, that took a lot. The question was,
Yeah, does it?
Yeah, so if you want ultra realistic, yes, it's still going to take a lot, but then you can't achieve that with older products. If you want sci-fi curiosities, you're going to get them pretty quickly. And there's one of the biggest markets for AI is horror. Horror is very forgiving. Science fiction, somewhat music videos, somewhat, but horror in particular because you don't need monster consistency beyond a certain point.
But that literally, I haven't seen one that good, if I'm being honest, and that looks like something I would watch on CBS at night. I wouldn't think twice.
That's what we're going for. Our mission was to produce a spot a bit from the movie that could be shown to the financiers and distributors and such, and would not raise hackles. We're not trying to trick anybody, but we are trying to trick people.
For background actors, they are scanning. They are
Oh, yeah.
asking them to do movements. It's all like this. They could storage this data and sell after, and I don't know.
Reuse it?
Reuse it.
Yeah, they can. There's been plenty of stories, and there's an old comic book, American Flag. I don't imagine anyone's ever read that, where everyone had been replaced by their scans. But there's scanning going on, and Sony doesn't want to hear about that. We just had a meeting with Sony, and they are very much committed because of their contracts and their high profile and their SAG relationships that they only want to hear about real actors, which is great for us because that was pure AI. But our main business is hybrid AI, where we want to use actors. We have stages downstairs. We want to film the actors and do most everything else with AI, but we want real actors because you still can't get, that was very difficult to get that performance out of AI. And we want more, and you still can only use actors for that.
If you do this with actors that are not celebrity, would you scan them like the way they
People right now are giving up their rights. Like there are companies now being formed where actors are going to them and they're being paid to give away their likeness.
Yeah.
Like that? Yeah, I know somebody that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, they said we can give you 20,000 if you want.
Yeah, which is crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's a one-time sellout.
Yeah.
So this is all new.
It's all new and it's all developing, but yes, people can be scanned at a high profile. There are companies, I know one advertising agency that took the rights to 50 people so they could use them in their commercials. So now they can use them without having to worry about it, because otherwise it's so high profile they might have to worry about it. Not so much on social media, but yeah. Questions, actually, you were first.
Yeah, what about the movement quality for dance?
So one of the things, dance and fights, very related, have always been traditionally difficult to do well in AI. Seedance happens to do them better than what has come before. And part of that is that it has that ability to use a video as source. And unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to put an example for that together. But again, if you ask me on the Discord, I'll dig one up. But you can use the video. You can use a video or let's say you did block movement using a 3D product like Blender. And no details, but you just moved a person-like block around. Seedance will move its people like that. So you can get dance and fight movements out of that like that. I haven't done a lot of dance with Seedance, but the name implies I could. But it does do fight scenes better than anything before it, even more than Vigil ever did. So I imagine it'll do dance as well. Haven't tested it too much.
Of course, question. You said about it took you a long time to make it. If you wanted to give your best estimation, how much do you think it cost you from like a credit perspective? Like, how much money do you think it costs to make that video?
We use Runway Unlimited for a lot of that, so we didn't actually pay any more. But for other things that we have done, we've gotten pretty good at it. So for one action sequence with a real actor that goes from AI to green screen, we paid maybe $200 to do that, and that was only a 15, 30-second clip. It's going to vary a lot. How much would that have cost? It probably would have cost about the same, 200. So that's only a minute and a half. And it's really a black art to cost these things out at the moment, especially now that we're costing the entire movie. Yeah, I'd say a couple $100. People have made 10-minute, 8-minute movies, and they say it cost me about $400 in credits, and they knew what they were doing. So, it's not nothing, especially with Seedance.
Yeah, I believe even you are using like a credit unlimited edition for your video creating, you still have something like cool down or.
It takes forever. Yeah, it's relaxed
Yeah.
on Runway. The thing about Runway is if you don't use the relaxed, it's actually very expensive, but it's faster than Higgsfield because no one wants to pay that. Higgsfield is pretty slow, but it's one of the better deals out there. And it's all over the place. You can say 30 cents a second, I think, something along those lines. More for a 15-second, $7.80. I think Higgsfield is something like $8. A lot of places are more. Not many people are less, especially on the Fall API or something. For $10.80, you might be paying $15 for that 15-second clip. So it adds up faster than a lot of older products, especially Kling, which is now a bargain.
So how long did you actually take with those cooldown for the video you just showed us?
I can't really say. It took us about 2 weeks to put that together. But we learned a lot there. We'll do it a lot faster next time.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what are some limitations you observed when you were using Seedance or some other models, like, or you're using it for video creation? So what are like your biggest pet peeves when you were going through that process?
It won't listen to me. I want to smash the screen in. Yeah, not smashing the screen in was probably my biggest constraint there. And how long it took to come back and then came back with the wrong thing. Censorship is the thing that bugs me the most. When it rejects my prompt, and it's a perfectly good prompt, there's no sex, there's no violence, and it rejects it, that's what pisses me off the most, because there's no reason for it. And there's stupid ways around it. Back a long time ago, I think it was probably Runway, I want a duel to the death with Darth Vader. Some character or something. Duel to the death with Darth Vader. Sorry, I can't do violence like that. You guys all see Princess Bride?
Yes.
I told it, give me a duel to the pain with Darth Vader. And I got my duel to the death. What do you want? So, things like that are peeves. Let me keep going. Any other questions?
I know you mentioned you want to talk a little bit about Octo.
I said I wasn't going to talk about Octo tonight. I'm not going to talk. I love talking about agents, but I'm not going to talk about Octo at all. There's other story generators. There's a lot of them coming out. It's a hot topic right now. I'm in it too. Maybe I'll be able to show that as part of the Verticals app that I'm working on. Also has a generation part. opinions vary quite a bit on this sort of agentic, but it's happening. But I'm not going to talk about it today because it's a whole that's a whole other topic. That I could go into that for a long time. Let's see. So I showed you the character sheets. That's how you want to lock your characters and your objects in there. Video reference transfer. Let's see, where are we? All right, we've got not too much time left. But when do we start? 7. I said 9:30. We usually try. I usually run late. I try for 9, but we're nowhere near done. Like I said, I am trying to bring this to a point where I can release it, but we'll see. So for motion transfer, like you saw, we can replicate the action for video 1 with the character that we bring in. For camera transfer, same thing. We can get the camera movements. We can transfer via from a video, so we don't need to describe it. We can get it from a video, and we can match the editing rhythm. What was I rendering over here? Let's see if that's done or not. I don't know why it doesn't like that woman. It's just giving me problems today.
I call not safe for work. That's the reason.
Yeah, I hate that. There's nothing not safe in that image, right?
You're not the first person, though. There's a whole WhatsApp chain regarding this, and a couple of people are actually banding together to talk to Higgsfield about this issue. It's apparently more prevalent now for some reason.
Higgsfield has gone back and forth for me. Some days it seems to not want to do anything I want it to. Thanks for coming. Are you taking off?
No, I just couldn't see from back there.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Some days it doesn't want to do anything I tell it. It gives me stupid stuff like this. Some days I just sail right through. I've had the same exact prompt work one day and not the other. So they're always tuning, doing something with their filters. It's a pain in the ass. And then I bring it over the runway when it had unlimited, which it still has for a day or two, and it would work. It's a black art. So maybe that's just going on today.
It's because Higgsfield can change their content moderation filter up and down as they please based
Yeah.
on how much issues they have. But anyway, if you own a direct API, you can choose it.
Yeah.
Higgsfield just keeps messing around with it.
Yeah, all these consolidators have secondary filters that they do themselves, as well as the back-end Seedance filters and different licensing arrangements. I mentioned the editing operations, all these add element, remove an element. Just like Nano Banana or GPT Image 2 can manipulate an image, and Runway and Kling can manipulate a video, these are all just Runway and Kling video things and that you can implement. And this is where you have your video extension. You can extend it forward, you can extend it backward. So if you I'm going to try, it's fighting me for some reason. But I can extend the video, describe what's going on. Actually, I've done this quite a bit. So for longer form stuff, because I was doing a zombie fight in a bar and I was able to just extend it with additional video. I don't know if I have that on this computer. That one's not very good.
He's like this sickly tart, like a sugary rot.
This one's bad because of the tongue.
That's exactly what they smell like. And I hate that fucking smell.
Yeah, that's a zombie movie, vertical movie. It's landscape here that we're working on. And that was an extension of another video. Unfortunately, we got a still frame with, that was actually done by Kling. We got some of them come up with this tongue. This is a whole process that I may cover when I talk about production. It was a gray screen process to get, and we captured him in high definition to recreate him. But these are all extensions.
These cats would turn inside out. They vomit this spaghetti bio all over.
This one's terrible.
I had known it Tinian with dude. He'd bum home, and he'd come home smelling like these cat.
Yeah, so a lot of those are extensions there. That is Seedance not working right, but
That Budweiser trademark in the shot, right?
that's what's in the bar. I'm not worrying about it.
Or is that like?
That came from a generation, yeah. So the first part of this was all generated. The bar was generated, so yeah, it put the Budweiser in there. I wasn't really worrying about that, and now I will.
But can't you, in your post, in your edit, you can
Yeah.
tweak it?
And I could post and generation are overlapping now because I could go into this video and say change the Budweiser thing in the background to something else.
Is that spelled correctly? I can't see.
It's a little fuzzy, probably not, but I mean,
Is it the
it's
sometimes
it's probably close enough that I would have to worry about it. But these are tests; they're not production yet. So that, and I haven't tried the extend backwards to build the story out. I have tried to build out some stories this way, and it works fairly well. So you can actually produce a longer form video by extending forward, extending backwards, what have you. It does make the whole process a lot easier to get through than previously. It's actually a major step. Okay, this one is very cool. Storyboard to video. One thing that it does, and let me find this here. I don't know if I can expand this here. So GPT Image 2 and Nanobanner to a lesser extent, but GPT Image 2 is very good at taking a concept and turning it into a storyboard like this. So basically I said, give me a storyboard based upon this girl, give me some annotations there. It could even do it without the annotations. I still keep pointing at my screen. So I use an image generator to put a storyboard together. And you can do this 9x9, up to 15. And then I just fed this into Seedance. And this is what that got. So it didn't take me very long.
I have to do this. No more running. This time, I'll stay. I have to do this.
So animation in various styles, because that is entirely based upon the storyboard style, is very, Seedance has a lot of power there. And if you want to tell a story with animation, you have a lot less to worry about than if you're doing realism. Yeah, I have scanned one of my clients' graphic novels, and even on the first pass, I got a reasonable bit there. Now, we want to do it at a professional level, so it's going to be a lot more effort than that. But we got a lot out of it. As far as, because Seedance has a lot more understanding, not just prompt adherence, but understanding of the context of what it's doing. So it's very good at doing this sort of animation and lots of different types of animations. This is just a quick example.
So for this, what you did was input the storyboard
Yeah,
and then give
over
it
here.
the exact, just give it what it was you wanted the character to say.
Yeah, I didn't even have to give it this much instruction, but this is what I told it.
I'm kind of curious.
Wasn't me.
Yeah, I'm curious. Is there a way in Hicksfield where you can create these storyboards, or do you have to manually create these storyboards in GPT?
No, Hicksfield has the kitchen sink in it. So I happen to have a Ultra subscription, so I naturally go there to use it because Hicksfield. It might even be free in Hicksfield. So a lot of things are free in Hicksfield. So Hicksfield has lots of image generators, including GPT Image 2. It would have cost me 7 credits to do it. It might even have a free version. Maybe it did when it was introducing it. But yeah, so I can do this all in Hicksfield. That's why Hicksfield and Magnific are useful tools, but I don't have to pay the 7 credits, so I do it in GPT. So I do it directly in GPT. But there are issues with organization. Eventually, when you're working on these projects, you have to organize everything. So maybe you don't want to go out and back into another product, which is where these things really shine. And the consolidators are all improving what they're doing and their organizational capabilities. You're paying a surcharge, of course, like the 7 credits, which isn't a lot, but it's more than nothing, considering I have it for free somewhere else. And there are other places where Nano Banana or GPT Image 2 are included, at least as a special the first year, the first month. There's all sorts of sales and such. So yeah, storyboarding. lots of different possibilities along those lines. And it doesn't have to be animation. I don't think I rendered the other one that I wanted to show, and we won't wait for that. I might have done it in Runway. But it's just another example of the same sort of animation. Are there any questions about the technique? Because it's fairly easy to understand and rather amazing that Seedance is that good at interpreting it, because you can do a lot with that. And the whole storyboard technique is still being improved and worked out and understood. It wasn't something that Seedance announced. It was like VO, where we found that you could annotate the slides. That was something that people found you could do with Seedance. There's more to be found. It just came out.
Is it quite good at ignoring, like using the rest of the references and just using the storyboard rather than picking up the style from the storyboard? If you understand. Like, as if I draw a storyboard and then I give it loads of photos. I'm like, use the photos, but follow the actions in the storyboard.
You can, I haven't tested that, so I can't say for sure. It sounds like something it would be good at and worth testing.
Yeah, it works
Yeah.
when I'm done it.
Okay. So yeah, it's within certain levels of complexity, it should be able to understand things like that. I have run into some of the limits, but it has less than what's come before. Let's see, and you can get action and dance there. You can have a dance sequence there. I haven't done that, so I can't show it to you. Various types of progressions you can do with the storyboard, and you can do a whole story with the storyboard naturally. You might want more detail, but you might want to start there, and you might want to do your previs that way. But you can see it comes out pretty well, and that's just the animation. No, I'm going the wrong way. Yeah, so I would give it the storyboard prompt, and I could tell it to make it itself, or I could specify what's actually going into the storyboard. This is the GPT Image 2 prompt. We'll leave that to its stuff. And then we bring that into the Seedance 2 prompt, which we'll come back to that if we have time. All right, I definitely wanted to cover this. So this is something which is not widely known. It's an experimental topic that's been happening on X. And that is the ability for Seedance to understand the facial action coding system, FACS, which is a way that people, scientifically, it's not even from directly AI, describe expressions on people's faces. Now, you can describe anger and things like that and get that out of Seedance without going to this level. But if you want to, so you can say she smiles, but apparently it thinks there are 17 types of smiles. I don't know if that's accurate or not. But here is a particular type of smile by using Action Unit 6 and Action Unit 12, cheeks lift, lip corners pull. I'm specifically telling it how I want the face to move. And I can get expression from that by combining these in sequence. So there are 44 action units. They're upper face, lower face, intensity of the action unit, and it's trying to capture all the muscles and the muscle movements that are in the face. So these are the ones that you are actually going to use, generally speaking. There's more muscles than you want to use. And this can describe anger in more detail than just saying she's angry. How angry? Is she getting angry? Is she about to cry? Is her lip trembling? We can express all that with the action units, and better than, so happiness, these are the muscles that we want to manipulate. Sadness, these are the ones that we want to manipulate. Fear, etc. Surprise, we can go into great detail on what we can do with Seedance with someone's expression. So we didn't actually do that in the realism one that we put together because we didn't know about it back then. But that would give us even more. And so this is an example of a multi-shot template showing the progression of Action Unit 1 and 2, inner and outer brows raised gently, eyes widen slightly, and we're specifying which action unit that we actually want to manipulate here. So we can get micro actions and micro expressions, and I do have that somewhere. We finally got her.
Oh, look.
It just loaded up.
She's alive.
She here, right?
No, I gave it to it. I gave it again with a simpler prompt.
So this is a continuation of the one you showed?
No, this is the character sheet. So it's making pretty much all that up because all I said is walking down the street. Now, like I showed you on an earlier page, I could specify this as long as it doesn't reject it to the nth degree. I don't know why it would have rejected the Eiffel Tower. Let me find I don't think this was it. Oh, here's one of them. All right, so here is an example of manipulating those.
We rebuilt the entire model. And it changed everything. We rebuilt the entire model.
So you can see, where is it?
And it changed
Initially,
everything.
we said AU12.
We rebuilt the entire model.
We see the slight smile, and then the smile and the brows
And it
raised.
changed everything.
And then the lifting the eyebrows.
We rebuilt the entire model.
And I have another emotional one. I believe this is it. No, not that one. Let me find it. This is it. Reading bad news.
It's better than my acting.
So you see the tremendous potential of this, right?
But that was with the notations that you.
Yes, so this is the prompt here. I think this is the same prompt. Let me check that. Face neutral. No, this is a little more complicated. So this is medium close-up, face neutral, eye scanning, AU43, a single slow blink. Blinks are always a big problem, so we can make them blink now. The first hint of recognition, further brow furrows. Lips pressed together, AU23. A single tear forms, AU15. So it's very specific, and you have to know how to use it, but it's here. You can get a little bit of this out of VO and maybe even Kling, but not to this extent.
So they are all accomplished by Seedance 2.0?
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to do these other works, like using VO or?
I've actually tested it using VO and got in some limited, thanks for coming, and got on some limited positive results, but VO was not trained to the same depth as Seedance. All this, they trained it on the manual for this stuff. So it's a little bit of VO, but it's not as well supported. So you really, yeah, this is the grief reaction here. That's what you just saw.
Oh.
This is all new. So it works in Seedance, but it won't work reliably in anything else yet. Yeah, and this is very experimental and it's being worked out on X and a little bit on Reddit.
6 months from now, it's going to be a very different picture.
Yeah, everything is, you know.
I mean, it's like maybe less than that.
3 months.
Yeah, I was going to say 6 is way different.
Maybe we won't be like yelling at our computers as much.
Yeah.
Imagine 10 years from now, how things will be.
So major things that we covered, the timeline, that's a big one, being able to do control the shots and control the action. The 15 seconds, that's not a feature, but you have to respect it, you can get past it. Native audio, how to do consistency using the references, and how to transfer the video. Unfortunately, I don't have time to actually dig into that. And directing the face, I think, is one of the big takeaways here. It's 9:14, so I don't think I'll work through any of these examples here, but we have a lot of different ways that we do cinematic shots. Product commercials, UGC is particularly easy here. If I fed it the images here of the hero guy and the hero shoe, we can do a drone shot. We've got just a lot of things that we can do with the prompts. UGC there. Talking heads, unfortunately, unlike HeyGen or any of those avatar programs, we're still restricted to 15 seconds, but then we can extend it with the same guy. So if you're willing to spend the money, because HeyGen is certainly, and all those are certainly much less expensive to do this, but they don't do as much. In fact, I believe I was testing Lemon Slice, which is another one. I think they're actually exiting the space. They integrated VO, and suddenly they went from being able to do 2 minutes of animation. Now they could, but of reasonable animation in their 2.5 version. 2.7 is much better with moving backgrounds, but it's limited to 8 seconds. So clearly they just licensed VO to do that. Yeah, dance motion transfer, you guys asked about. Anyway, lots more like that. So it's 9:14. Any other questions? Yeah.
I'm so curious about this.
Yeah, it's like,
First, I just want to say, this has been so valuable.
Amazing.
I think we've all been to lots of different events.
Yeah.
I would give you a standing ovation if I didn't have to name. But truly just incredible. And of course now, I think a lot of us want more. Is there a possibility for a part 2? Is there a possibility for you to share the deck? Obviously, we just want to make sure you're comfortable with whatever it is that you're doing, but this is, and I feel like we should really, look, I work in marketing. I think we need to record you and give this gift to the world and make you famous just for that. But like, are you planning on doing another session or how?
I'm doing more sessions, not necessarily on Seedance itself. I suppose I could, but I covered all the bases to get you guys started. Seedance is pretty deep. And of course, a lot of stuff we do is proprietary. So I was planning on the next topic. Like I said, I switched between. Next technical topic is going to be, for those of you who are in the space, Codex gets good, because Codex is now better than Claude Code, in my opinion. I've got a really good reason. Yeah.
It's new release.
Yeah, so I've actually been doing my agentic video in Codex, and it's been doing really well. So I've been impressed on how good it's been. So that's probably the next thing I'm going to do, because I'm alternating. I was planning on talking about general production in video, because the situation has changed since the last time I talked about that last year. And also I wanted to cover so many topics. The new Google model that does the editing. Yeah, Omni. Seems like a valid topic, but I'm happy to take suggestions, and honestly, I'm happy for any help. I do run this thing more or less myself, so I could actually use a team to help get this out, do some taping. I think I have a decent tape of this lecture that I might put out on X, but I'm also a perfectionist, so I don't like putting out stuff that's not perfect. If I get all the errors out of the deck, then I'll probably give it out, because I want to get it out.
By the time you're done with that, it's going to be so many new things.
That is a problem. So let me just mention, you can reach me at, here's this. Let me feed that into Seedance just for fun. Come on.
You normally lecture from here, from MCM?
Yeah. I am actually looking for a secondary space as well. So if anybody has an idea, that's actually how I got involved with MCM in the first place. All right, so here's this preview. Let me just save this. But what I was going to do, this is me on X, Rob 6000.
Okay.
The group is forum, I believe. You have to give me your email address for me to give you a Discord. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to get a clipboard. So if you send me your email address, or best to send it to me on X, I'll add you to the Discord. But so that is my personal and also the group account on X.